Hello, I'm Gina Woodham. Welcome to It's a Lifestyle, where we interview people with interesting careers and hobbies, which for my guests, it's more than a career, it becomes a lifestyle. And I'm hoping my guests inspire some of you to gather your hidden talents and aspirations to build your own unique career. Today's guest is the general manager and owner of a minor league basketball team, Gwinnett Majic. Please welcome Brandon Williams.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Let's talk about your childhood, even as early as 5 or 6, and activities that might foreshadow your present success.
Pretty much just like a normal boy. Soccer, football, basketball was always a passion of mine. So just pretty much we played anything that was outdoors. So whatever the season was going on, we would play. So football, basketball, baseball, soccer.
Who were some of your mentors growing up?
Probably a few of my mentors that are best. My best mentors were my coaches in high school. A couple of AAU coaches that were really big mentors to me, just to kind of help me through basketball. I didn't really have much of a father figure in my life, so they were real important. So
now, as you moved on towards high school, what were your activities?
High school, just pretty much basketball. That's all I played. Pretty much year-round. AAU, I'd play in a lot of leagues, and then also played on the high school basketball team.
So that was the sport of focus at that point. You had
Yes.
dropped the soccer, dropped the football. And as you're moving towards college, what were your ideas as far as what you wanted to major in?
College was a little difficult because I was working at the same time, and I quit sports when I got to college. But just trying to get my degree in business, a little bit of marketing, but only went to school for 2 years, so it was quick, and I got into the working world pretty quickly in sales. So
What was your first job out of college?
selling newspapers door to door. So I did that for about 5 years. So it was really good to help me learn to actually interact with people and not be afraid to put myself out there and talk to people. So it helped out later on down the road.
And then as you moved along, at what point did your interest grow towards basketball, and perhaps you started a camp for basketball? So where did all of this transpire?
Well, I've always liked basketball. It's my passion, so I always watched it, and I've always wanted to be a coach. But I kind of figured with my background only playing in high school would kind of hurt me as far as trying to get out there. So what I did is I started coaching in some of the local rec leagues, boys and girls clubs, that kind of stuff. So kind of got my start there, and once I kind of got a little resume going, it kind of propelled me into some of the stuff we'll talk about later on.
So with some of the camps, you eventually started a camp. So how did you initially get that idea off the ground? I mean, what are some of the steps you take?
Well, the biggest thing is, there's 2 other guys that I teamed up with, Sean and Sam, when I first started with the camps. And really it was the relationships that I built with actually coaching some of the rec league teams, letting them know who I was, what I was about. So when we decided to do the camp, we actually got the gyms. And then after that, it was just more relationship building. And after that, we built it up pretty quickly to where we were training about 300 to 400 kids a year in basketball skills and fundamentals.
Year-round?
Year-round.
Wow. Now, as that progressed, there was a point that you decided you wanted to own. How do you just wake up one morning and decide you want to own a basketball team? How does that happen?
I don't think you really wake up in the morning and decide to own a team. We're a minor league team, so it's a lot different than like your normal pro teams, even though it is a professional sport. But what was cool about it is all the relationships that I built throughout the community really helped me actually, get the seed planted. So what I did is after I coached the rec league teams is I kind of started to move up. I coached a couple of AAU teams, and then I actually was assistant coach for a minor league team in the ABA, which is the Atlanta Vision, and I did that for 2 years. So I kind of got to see a minor league team in action. I kind of took notes on how the guy that owned the team ran his team, and I always thought to myself, like, this is what I would do if I owned that team, or this is how I would do it. So it wasn't even really a goal. I just kind of thought, man, if I had that team.
Give me an example of a change you were saying you would have made.
Minor league is different because you're you're basically trying to you're trying to sell a professional sport that's not in the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL. So a lot of times you'll get guys that have played overseas or that kind of stuff. So you're trying to try to attract people. Like, you want to have a good team, obviously, but there's different things to try to get people in the door to your games. So there's a movie called Semi-Pro, and that's real similar. If you watch Semi-Pro, it's kind of similar to what some of our leagues are about.
We want to hear more, and we will. Where are you going? We're just getting started, and we will be back in a moment. You made it back, and just in time. We're talking to General Manager and owner of Gwinnett Majic, Brandon Williams. You were talking about observing another owner and taking notes, getting an understanding of the pros and the cons, the ins and the outs. Let's talk more about that.
Okay. Well, basically, the league that I was assistant coaching for the Atlanta Vision was the ABA, which actually runs in the winter, and the league that I own a team now, the Gwinnett Magic's, in the summer. So what happened was I was assistant coach for the Atlanta Vision in the winter, and in the summer I became an assistant coach for the Gwinnett Majic, actually before I bought the team. So I kind of had to end there. So the Gwinnett Majic was actually owned by the owner of the league, which was the WBA, and it just so happened that he was trying to sell his team, and I just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time. And we just sat down and started negotiating, and a lot of the notes that I had kind of taken from when I worked for the Vision, it was kind of like, here's my opportunity to put those into action. And with the relationships that I had in the community with my camps and stuff, and the connections I had with a lot of other things, I felt like it would be a perfect fit. I had my camps, and then I had my team, and it just kind of went from there. And before you knew it, I was the owner of the Gwinnett Majic basketball team.
Well, what ideas did you have to share with him to prove to him that you were worthy of being the owner? I mean, what kind of stipulations? Because I would think there are steps to go through.
Yeah, there's obviously financial steps, which is important. But I think the biggest thing is the passion. He knew that I was a coach in another league, and we did pretty good. We got to the Elite Eight that year, which is in the ABA. Also, the connections that I had throughout the community, and the owner of the league actually had been to some of my camps. So he knew the kind of connections that I had within the community, which is, it's kind of who you know, one of those deals. So I think at that point, and also the players that I had trained, and some of the and a coach as well, the coach that I would bring on later on, it just kind of all fit into place. So it was a good fit, financially and just for where I was in my life and as far as basketball goes.
How did you find your coach? How do you find your players? What are some of the steps you initially took as soon as you signed on the dotted line?
Okay. Well, once I got the team, David Aiken was actually an assistant coach for the UGA girls team, and I was actually referred to him through a friend, because basically the way basketball works is once you get in girls basketball, you kind of have to start over to get in boys basketball. So it was a really good fit as far as that goes, because he was a good coach. He had coached boys before, so having a minor league basketball experience on his resume would be a good start for him to kind of convert back into boys basketball. So the coach just kind of fell in my lap, and it was a perfect fit. And he was actually referred to me by one of the players on my team, Mike Kananik, who's a good friend of mine, and he actually ended up playing on the team as well, and they were friends from high school, so it was a good fit. David is an awesome coach. He's won Coach of the Year 2 years in a row since I bought the team. So,
wow.
Yeah.
How do you find the players?
Finding the players is a lot of the connections that I have playing basketball and knowing people. So I'm always scouting. It doesn't matter what gym I'm in. I'm always looking for players because I play basketball a lot. Also word of mouth, and then we do have tryouts. We have open tryouts every year. So what we do is we have somebody on our staff, and they just contact all the colleges and let them know, all the seniors that are graduating that year, that we actually have a summer league, and it's a great place for those guys, that if they want to play professional basketball, whether it's NBA overseas, that it was a good idea for them to play on our team, because they get used to the professional rules before they make that next step. So it's pretty easy to find players. You just got to make sure you find the right ones.
How do they? How do you make that that connection? How do you make that decision? Like, in other words, do they have agents that you have to work through in order to work it out for them to play? How does all that come together?
It's real important that you get to know a lot of the agents, because it's kind of like, we look out for each other. So a lot of the agents that my players are signed with actually recommend that they play on my team in the summer because it keeps them in shape. They obviously get paid, and then the agent knows that their player is just not going to sit around all summer and not play basketball. So a lot of times these agents will recommend that they play for our team just to stay in shape. So it's a good fit. And obviously when we have tryouts, agents will come to our tryouts, and sometimes the players will actually get signed from the tryouts, and people play on our team, and then we connect them with the agent. So that's kind of more of a work in progress right now, but we're making some great headway with that.
You have to have sponsorship. How do you find sponsors?
Right now, it's the last 2 years it's been me, and then I just hired David Olson. He's going to be my director of basketball operations, and he's really great. And we pound the pavement. I mean, we go out, we find sponsors, we show them our website, we show them how successful we are. We'll have them come to our games, and we just really go by what we've done in the past 2 years. And as far as the Gwinnett Braves are right down the street from us, what it costs to be a Gwinnett Braves sponsor versus us is it's nowhere even in the same ballpark. So we get a lot of sponsorships that way, and we have about 20 to 25, and some of them are pretty big sponsors, household names. So
talked about how at first they were donating a lot of things, donating drinks, donating food, and eventually it comes down to a monetary benefit that you actually need. How does that turn the corner?
As far as the first year, I did a lot of trade. That was my biggest thing with the sponsors, just to get them in the door. So if I went to Costco, for example, and they gave me $400 worth of drinks or $500 worth of drinks or stuff for the concession stand, then they would be a sponsor. So we hang their banner at our games. We put them in the game day guide. We also talk about them during timeouts. They'll come to our games and set up a booth. So it kind of works both ways. So we get to sell obviously the concessions in the game. So we kind of make up for that. So it's a win-win situation.
Then eventually, how do you tell a sponsor, we appreciate that, now we need hard cash?
That's what we're in. Yeah, that's what we're in the process of this year. This is our really first year that we're kind of going to a lot of those sponsors, and that's why I hired Dave Olson to come on to do that, and it's working out well so far. This is the first couple months that we've really sat down with a lot of them, and most of them are cool with it because they see that we've won 2 championships and we've had multiple awards, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, they see a value. I mean, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 is nothing for some of these big companies to actually get the attention and the recognition from a team.
And in the midst of all of this, you have built what you call Gwinnett Majic Academy.
Yes, we have. We started a Gwinnett Majic Academy, and what that is we train boys and girls ages 5 to 17 year-round. I have 4 exceptional coaches: Adrian Penland, Brad Peters, Brent Benson, and myself. And what we do is we have camps throughout the year. We have them during the winter break. We have them during the summer. We have them during spring break. And we just train kids and and help them get ready for the next level. So they actually get to work with our players and see what it takes to actually take your game to the next level.
We want to hear more, and we will. I'm looking for commitment. We'll be back in a moment.